I felt like an artist. Oftentimes when I'm participating in works at UMD, I feel very much like a student dance major, but dancing in Puerto Rico with Pearson Widrig, I felt like a guest artist, a paid performer. I felt seen, I felt validated in this profession, and it was kind of like the spark that was like, you could do this. You could do this if you wanted to do this.
Hi, I'm Sarah Pearson,
I'm Patrick Widrig.
and we're professors at the University of Maryland in the School of Theater, Dance, and Performance Studies.
We're also artistic directors of Pearson Widrig Dance Theater.
We set out to create a site-specific dance in the UNESCO World Heritage Site Castillo San Cristobal in Old San Juan, Puerto Rico. As pioneers of site work for over 30 years throughout the world, this would mark our 22nd site work and our second at a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
From the beginning of our communications with the National Park Service, which administers the fort, through to the final performances, we presented the work as a project of the University of Maryland's School of Theater, Dance and Performance Studies International Program for Creative Collaboration and Research.
The UMD, TDPS, and IPCCR names were prominently displayed in all local publicity, on posters we set up in each rehearsal and performance location every day, in the program we distributed, and in daily social media posts.
We've had the great fortune to choreograph site dances throughout the world, including in Germany at the UNESCO World Heritage Site Zeche Zollverein, a former coal processing plant that has been turned into a vibrant cultural center.
In the lobby of the new Alexandrinsky Theater in St. Petersburg, Russia.
Throughout New York City's Central Park and Wave Hill.
At colleges and festivals throughout the United States, including Middlebury College,
PS21 in Chatham, New York.
Connecticut College,
Governor's Island in New York Harbor,
and the Bates Dance Festival in Maine.
During our preliminary visit in March, we met with Yanira Martinez, the administrator of the fort, who approved our permit to create the project. She and her staff became enthusiastic collaborators on the production side, and their support was crucial to the success of the project.
Hello, my name is Yanira Martinez. I work for San Juan National Historic Site in Puerto Rico, and I'm the permits coordinator for the park, also the community liaison and the public information officer.
When UMD invited us to be permanent faculty, the administration asked us to be the bridge to connect students to the professional world, giving them opportunities to tour and perform with our dance theater company, which we've been able to do throughout the United States and on tour in Germany, Russia, Cuba, Chile, Mexico, and now in Puerto Rico. The IPCCR grant made it possible for us and 3 of our students to travel to Puerto Rico, where we created and performed A Curious Invasion San Juan from May 25th to June 2nd. They were Sydney Lemelin,
Angat Kelsey,
and Atlas Hill.
We were joined by 3 members of Pearson Widrig Dance Theater, funded by our company's Kickstarter campaign for the project.
Lindsay Gilmore, Assistant Professor of Dance at the University of California, Irvine.
Tsveta Kasabova, Assistant Professor of Theater at the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, and graduate of our MFA Dance program.
And Candace Scarborough, freelance dancer, certified teacher of the Gaga movement language, and graduate of our BA Dance program.
When we were there in March last year, what convinced you to say yes to our project?
It was something new, definitely, for us too. Me being in the permits division, it was like, I never heard of this done here before, so it might be good to have. Let's see how it goes. And I think it worked out very nicely. I mean, there's definitely room for improvement because now I have more experience. But you guys were great. So it was a very good experience. You guys were very organized, and we really liked that and enjoyed working with you. So
great. Well, that's good to hear.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I did ask to have more activities as part of being the community liaison because the public just loved that.
Over the course of 7 days, we collaboratively created a 35-minute dance that occurred in multiple locations throughout the fort.
Daily rehearsals and all 8 performances were free and open to the public. In addition to the local population, the audience was comprised of international tourists, which led to a near constant flow of hundreds of spectators throughout the days.
Having noticed our posters explaining our project, many people were eager to engage in conversation with us about what we were doing, and a surprising number of people commented on their own connections to the University of Maryland.
This project exposed everyone to Puerto Rico's vibrant culture, its complicated relationship with the United States, the recent devastation from Hurricane Maria, and centuries of embedded colonialism.
Our dancers' ability to tune into the site's architecture, history, and each other contributed to an incredibly rich movement research leading up to the performances and made for an intense and meaningful collaboration.
Acknowledging the history of the site also led us to an important discovery regarding costuming. We had brought 2 sets of costumes with us that we thought might work well.
One set consisted of brilliant reds, oranges, and yellows, which we were hoping would reflect the joyous aspect of Puerto Rican culture. The other set was a more sophisticated choice with greenish, grayish hues and unusual patterns.
Neither felt right once we tried them out in the Castillo. They were 2 carefree, superficial choices for a work in the space of this nature.
We realized we needed something grittier, something that would address the severity of the space and the import of its past and recent history. Taking a cue from the historic blue cobblestones in the streets of Old San Juan, we eventually settled on a uniform navy blue and were able to purchase clothes in town.
I had an incredible time traveling to Puerto Rico with Pearson Widrig Dance Theater. It was really a unique experience for me to be able to fully focus on just being in a creative process. We were in Old San Juan living together. I didn't have to worry about school or everything else that was happening back home. I could just be there with the company in this process. I had never experienced that before because as a student, you're usually balancing classes, rehearsals, social life, homework, and being able to focus just on that one thing. I felt like I was able to get much deeper and much closer to the heart of the piece. Sometimes we had some days were difficult. It was really hot and humid in Puerto Rico. There was one day in particular where it was about to storm, so all these gnats were buzzing around the fort, and we needed to finish the section on the wall that day. And the gnats were basically all standing on the wall, so anytime you touched the wall, all of the bugs would come running onto your skin. And so it was really uncomfortable, but we knew we needed to finish this section. So it definitely, this project also helped me be more persistent and better at, helped me deal with different challenging situations and how can you push through those. Because when you're working with a limited amount of time, it's not like you can just take an afternoon off. So you need to be resilient.
This is my first experience kind of having any form of international tour, so yeah, that was just a very new yet comforting way to step into the dance world because this is one of the first things that I did after graduating, so being able to kind of take everything I had learned in the previous years and then not only employ it in a professional setting, but employ it in a professional setting that isn't in my immediate community and travel to a different community to showcase that. That was definitely a very, very kind of eye-opening experience, and I know that often people will say that dance is like this universal language, but I think this was an instance where it definitely kind of spoke to that saying, being able to go to this different culture and still speak through this form of movement. With that also being able to travel with not only some newer company members, but some longer standing ones, some who I knew before, some who I didn't, and being able to kind of be in this melting pot of artists was definitely a really cool experience. Not only from the different generations that people are coming from and all those different experiences that come with different generations, but even just different movement backgrounds, different cultural backgrounds. I think it was very fitting for us to have a very blended group for this experience because it kind of also spoke to the blending of some cultures that can happen within Puerto Rico itself.
I've worked with Sarah and Patrick, Pearson Widrig Dance Theater, for 20 years, and I always find their work innovative and inspiring. In fact, I was part of the original cast of Curious Invasion Wave Hill in the Bronx 20 years ago. So it was a real thrill and a pleasure to be able to go to San Juan, Puerto Rico for Curious Invasion San Juan. The historic site was just beautiful and stunning, and it was such a pleasure to work with the University of Maryland dancers and also to work with Sveta, also a longtime company member. The people at the Castillo San Cristobal were wonderful, always helpful. We met many locals and many tourists that happened upon our performances. Overall, it was a wonderful experience, and I hope we can return.
Puerto Rico definitely had its challenges, mostly Mother Nature just throwing curveballs at us, and we had to negotiate that and adapt to it. But it was also such a great opportunity to perform in a space so full of history, and I think gave me and gave all of us a chance to flex our performance muscles a little bit and fill up a space that already has so much with our presence and our energy.
I have been part of Pearson Widrig Dance Theater for over 15 years now. And I was really happy when Sarah and Patrick invited me to be part of Curious Invasion, San Juan. It's a beautiful space for site-specific work, sandwiched between the ocean and beautiful sky, and surrounded by stones that have tons of history. It's always a pleasure to work with Sarah and Patrick. And I would love to go back to Puerto Rico and further develop this project. It was lovely, lovely experience. It was great. Looking forward for more. Thank you for so much for supporting this project.
It's just opened a whole new way of thinking for me. It was just my first time going somewhere and just in dancing, and I think back to that trip a lot. We need experiences like this to really like open our to kind of hammer down the realization that this is a possibility. But yeah, Puerto Rico trip was amazing.
So what were some of the things that you learned for future such projects? What would you do differently?
Well, I would definitely would have loved to incorporate the division of interpretation, and maybe piecing the dance and the art with our mission more. Like, okay, this is the purpose of the fort, this is what it was used, but now it's become this great scenario for this university. They're learning from us, we're learning from them. That kind of connection, that even though I thought about it when you guys first came in, but we didn't have the staff to do it.
This project will become part of our class instruction and form the basis of future similar projects currently being pursued at sites in the Maryland, D.C., Virginia area and abroad.
This spring, we received a grant from the Maryland State Arts Council to create a new work at Fort McHenry in Baltimore that will expand on our research in Puerto Rico.
This marking the second site-specific project at a UNESCO World Heritage Site for us, we are very interested in keeping this connection alive and hope to create works at UNESCO sites in the future.
We are deeply grateful for the IPCCR's support of our project and hope to have served the vision and scope of TDPS well. Thank you.
Thank you.